Hello everybody, Mark Schaftlein with you, and this is the Schaftlein Report. It's Thursday's edition. We're back broadcasting from our beautiful new studio here in Irvine, California. Happy to have you with us today, folks. It's great being back in studio. Had an awesome experience traveling all across the great United States, meeting with a lot of great conservatives, patriotic Americans. I can't tell you how happy I was to visit some of our great American patriots. And it's Thursday. Jeffrey, welcome back to the show. It's been a couple of weeks since we talked. Happy to have you with us today.
Great to be here. I'm not in Irvine, California, but my Uncle Irving was in the house. I don't know if that counts.
Well, Irving versus Irvine. Let me clarify. It's Irvine, California. Hey, listen.
I guess I can put it up.
Listen, let me get, Jeffrey, there's a lot of moving parts happening right now with our federal government. Let's start and talk about the thing that's on the really the hot burner issue. Well, not hot burner, it's sort of a dry issue, but it's actually influencing a lot of action in D.C. And that's the fact the House passed the debt ceiling and the spending cut bill. It's now in the Senate. Debate's going to be happening. It looks like it's going to pass, but when you get to the Senate, you never know, Jeffrey. What's your take on where we are and the status in the Senate and your thoughts on this bill?
Well, I don't think the Senate is going to have as much problems as the House. Okay, there will be a few senators who'll say no, but Schumer has a good handle on his caucus. You know, I kind of celebrated last night after it was passed.
So you were in favor of it generally? Yeah,
but I went out and got a case of Miller, of Bud Light, and I got it at Target.
Would you pay a dollar for a 24-pack?
They paid me.
They paid you. Hey, listen, some aspects of this bill I think are pretty good, but overall, boy, I got to tell you, literally the horses left the barn now, but I think we could have gotten a whole lot more out of this bill. There are some spending adjustments in it. It's not near what I think was warranted. A $4 trillion increase, I think that's double what it should have been. I got a lot of problems with this bill, but at the end of the day, now it's in the Senate. You know, student loans have to start making payments again. That's a positive thing. And then, pipeline, changing the environmental rules, fast tracking, being able to get pipelines, that's a good thing. It was really incredible. Ro Khanna, representative from out here in California, he goes, I can't support this bill. It forces students to start making payments on their loans, and it weakens the permitting process for oil pipeline. I mean, one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. I mean, both of those are really good things for America, Jeffrey. There's a few other things in it, but at the end of the day, I think I'm in that camp. I think Democrats got a pretty good deal from their perspective.
Let me tell you something. If it was voted down, there'd be another 4 years of Biden, and they'd lose the House, and because it would all be the Republicans' fault.
I don't buy that, and I'm going to tell you why. I think you got a new breed of people in there, and they are fed up with all this spending, and I don't think that would have happened. But that's the sort of water's over. That's not going there because it did pass the House and now it's in the Senate. So
it will pass the Senate.
Yeah, I think it's
saying no, but it'll pass.
I think it eventually will pass. There could be some filibustering. There could be some amendments. I don't think it's going to go smoothly, and I have my doubts that they'll have it in time to be signed by Monday. And frankly, if it takes an extra couple days, so be it. But again, I don't think this is the greatest bill in the world.
It isn't.
And it's not. And don't kid yourself, folks. Some of the, quote, spending cuts in there
are not.
They are not. Some of them are. But I view this as like a baby step. Okay? I mean, that's really what this is. It is the first time in a long time there have been some spending reductions, which I believe is a good thing. But at the end of the day, it's a first step and a first step only, Jeffrey.
Well, but there's another step. It's the first time in a long time the two parties got together and fought for legislation.
Well, that's somewhat true. I mean, I can't remember the last time you had this much of a bipartisan deal, particularly in the House. But, a lot of Republicans voted for it. A lot voted against it. Democrats were forced to hold their nose and vote for this thing because without Democratic support, this thing would not have passed.
But the interesting thing is the hardest thing to pass is the Rules Committee.
Yeah,
and that's what I was impressed. They passed it by one.
Yeah, well, Massey, the chairman of the committee, it was really in his hands. If he had said no, this bill would have died. But he didn't do that. He supported it getting out of Rules Committee.
And if that doesn't pass, you can't bring it to the floor.
That's right. All right, let me move on from this because there's going to be debate in the Senate. We'll have more news on that next week. Senator Joe Manchin came out and supported a bill which passed the Senate, opposing Biden's student loan giveaway program. Now, I know that's, the Supreme Court's going to rule on that at the end of June, the legality of it. But you basically had the House and the Senate now pass this bill. The White House is obviously going to veto it. They'll send it back. I do not think the Senate's going to have the votes to override the veto, nor will they come even close to that. But the fact is, the House and the Senate are sending a message to the Biden administration, hey, it's not fair to people that pay their student debts and hardworking Americans that never borrowed in the first place to put that tax burden on people's backs. And yet Biden and this White House are doing it anyhow. Why are they doing it? Because wealthy kids getting advanced degrees and minority kids that had to borrow money or their constituency, and they basically want to pay to buy their vote.
Well, that and Manchin got his pipeline.
Well, that's true. But Manchin, pipeline or not, Manchin said he does not. He joined the Republicans and he would not support giving this Biden giveaway. But at the end of the day, even though the White House is going to veto it, Jeffrey, the Supreme Court will make that decision ultimately towards the end of the month. So at least this does send a message, to the Biden administration. And like
I don't know if I said this before, but I came out of grad school with undergraduate loans and graduate school loans. And 9 months after I graduated grad school, I had to start paying both of them off. Mm-hmm. And I was so proud when I paid them off. When I got the promissory note that I paid everything up, I had an I own my brains party. And we ended it with throwing the promissory note in the barbecue and burning it. It's a proud thing.
Yeah, sure, it's a proud thing. It's a good thing of what you did. There's no question about it. So I have never been a fan of this thing from the beginning. I think it's bad policy. It's bad fiscal policy on our government's hands. You borrow the money, you pay it back. It's that simple.
And it's not the way you teach children.
No. Well, of course, again, it's a Democratic Party giveaway to wealthy liberal Democrats that go to Ivy League schools and to people that borrowed money to go to school, and they should pay it back. That's my opinion. All right, let me shift. Let's get into some.
If they go to the City College of New York, they have to pay for their own KKK outfits.
Let me move on. All right. Presidential politics on the Republican side. Let's talk about this. We're going to have two new entrants into the race. Chris Christie's going to announce next week at New Hampshire. Former Vice President Mike Pence is going to announce. So, Jeffrey, we had a field of 7. Now it's up to 9. Give me your thoughts on Pence and Christie getting into the race.
I think Christie is a narcissist, okay? He doesn't belong in the race. No one's going to want to vote for him. And he's the only one that had the stomach surgery and still remained fat. Okay, you put that all together. But really, he has no following, okay? And a lot of people, the anti-Trump people, are angry with him because right after the last debate, he didn't take a breath. He followed Trump right away.
He's had his ups and downs with the Trump campaign. I mean, he's in favor, out of favor. Currently, obviously, out of favor. The Trump campaign's reaction was, Chris who? I mean, They took pretty much disregard.
Let me ask you something. The more people that get in, it helps Trump, right?
100%.
Okay. Christie hates Trump, and that's why he's getting in. So he's helping Trump.
Well,
So
look,
it's all narcissism.
well, my thoughts on are this. Telling a candidate he cannot get in a primary race, they don't listen to you. I mean, Christie's won 2 elections before in blue states. I know he ran for president 8 years ago. Didn't go past really New Hampshire, where he came in 6th. So, again, I don't begrudge anyone the right to run. I mean, not one vote has been cast. We'll get throughout the rest of the year and we'll see how these poll numbers shake out. But look, Donald Trump is the clear front runner in the Republican primary. Ron DeSantis is a clear second choice right now. And then
what you never hear from the reports is that 75% of the polls, excuse me, are going after populists. Okay, you got Trump with 50 something percent, and you got DeSantis with another 20%, 20 something percent. They're both populists. DeSantis is Trump light.
So, okay, let's acknowledge those figures are correct, because I think they're roughly correct.
They're roughly correct. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what you're saying is he's going to go against the populists, where that has like 3/4 of the party.
Well, I don't think I agree with that number. I mean, my sense is, in the Republican Party right now, by the way, Trump's holding an event in Iowa tonight. DeSantis is in New Hampshire. Look, every candidate has their own reason for running, okay? Right now, Donald Trump is the clear favorite in this race. Regardless, whether you look at polls or believe in them or not, and again, some polls are accurate, others are not, but consistently across most states, and again, folks, national polling doesn't mean a lot. What ultimately matters is the polling in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, and then the Super Tuesday states.
Well, our election is really 50 elections.
Well, sure. But I mean, in the primary,
right?
You have to basically finish in the top 3 or 4 in Iowa and New Hampshire to effectively continue your campaign. Now, Biden was the exception to this. He came in like 5th in Nevada and 4th in New Hampshire. Only got rescued in South Carolina. But in the early voting states of Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada, you've got to really come in that top 4. And obviously, with right now 9 candidates in the race, the field usually winnows out pretty quickly before you get to Super Tuesday. Now, we'll see how
after South Carolina, everybody drops out.
Well, this year, again, you're going to see. I think by Super Tuesday, things will sort themselves out. But look, I don't begrudge anyone an opportunity to get out there and try to run. Look, it's tough. When you're running for office, it's a lot. It's a sacrifice. Okay, and so I respect candidates that want to, give it their best shot. And look, the campaign season takes a long time, so this will sort itself out. And we'll see how it plays out.
Anybody can run.
Yeah,
I agree with you. But sometimes people are like running when they should, in their own minds. It's not a rational decision for people like Christie to run.
Well, all right, let's shift away from Christie. What are your thoughts on Pence?
He hasn't started running yet.
Well, he will next week. You'll see. I will defer that talk to next week. But Pence will get in.
I think Pence has something to run on.
Yeah, well, he's been in Congress. He's been a governor. He's been a vice president. So
yeah, and when Trump said, "Forget the Constitution," he said, "No, I won't."
Yeah, endeared himself to a lot of the Republican Party and just enraged Trump supporters. So, Pence has a lane to run in. There's no question about that. Hey, let me shift, though, from politics just a minute. Let's talk about what I'm going to call it the Biden crime family corruption. I mean, this stuff the FBI is doing. It's really bad stuff. I mean, coming in light of the Durham report, where the FBI fell for fake Russian disinformation, and now they're using, quote, disinformation to discredit credible whistleblowers. Jeffrey, this thing stinks to high heaven. Why is Christopher Wray effectively blocking and protecting Biden? It's almost like the FBI is blocking and tackling for Biden, and
Yes, that's what they're doing.
And then they're targeting Trump.
That's what they're doing. They're targeting every Republican that supports Trump. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. You read the Durham report, and I'm sure you have.
Yes.
The whole Russia thing
Oh,
was an FBI invention.
right. But what's disturbing about this is they're not, not only were they subpoenaed documents which they haven't provided, we got now going to be forced to hold the FBI director in contempt of Congress. That's what Representative Comer says is going to happen next.
Not only was it they have a subpoena for them, but they weren't marked confidential.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's crystal clear to me what's going on here. Attack Trump, investigate Trump, and, it's like, I hate saying it, but the FBI is like the protection racket for the Biden family.
Does that sound familiar to you?
It's like you have a quarterback in the backfield and you've got an all-star offensive line to protect him. Heck, they're not laying a glove on Biden because the FBI is doing all the blocking and tackling.
That's right.
I got to tell you.
I growing up, I had a lot of respect for the FBI because I used to read a lot of books about them. And I have absolutely no respect for them anymore.
Well,
the agents, the rank and file, I have respect for, but it's the leadership I have no respect for.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost.
And I think they should be going to jail.
Yeah, it's like the chance Merrick Garland is going to come out here and force this issue, I think, is slim to none. I mean, but look, we'll see where this contempt of Congress goes. I am interested in following that because, as I understand it, Grassley has seen the document, wouldn't comment on it, and he felt it should be released to the public, as did Representative Comer. So I don't know. We're going to stay on top of this and see where it goes. But right now, you can't be going after Trump, targeting him, and being the protection racket for Biden.
Well, Eric Holder got contempt from Congress.
Yeah, and what happened to him?
Nothing.
Right.
Because they refused to follow it up.
Right.
But again, this is something for me where I see, he could have been on the Supreme Court if it wasn't for Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, I always remind people of that too. All right, let me shift a little bit here. Pretty good economic news. Okay, 278,000 jobs, 270 plus jobs created in the month of May, according to private payroll reports. We'll get the employment report tomorrow on Friday for jobs added and what the unemployment rate is in the United States, for the month of May. And the Fed looks like all indications are they're going to pause at their June meeting. The stock market's reacting favorably. Interest rates have ticked down a little bit. Jeffrey, I mean, against all estimates, I've said it on this show dozens of times. You cannot have a recession when you have unemployment 3.5% and you're creating 200,000 plus jobs a month. I mean, it just doesn't work that way.
But I still hear people, on Fox Business, which I watch a lot, saying, this isn't real. We're going to have a recession. The number of people who are working are going to start falling back. And, we're going to have problems.
Well,
I don't know if it's true.
Well, I mean, that's that type of commentary, look, there's some very wealthy.
The commentary from people from Goldman Sachs and things like that.
I'm well aware. There's a lot of sophisticated, wealthy investors that have pulled chips off the table in anticipation of a recession coming. And when you look at the stock market, if you exclude 7 or 8 stocks, the entire rest of the market would be down 5% this year, were it not for 7 or 8 stocks, high technology stocks pulling the market up. We still could have a recession later this year. It's possible. Things happen in the business cycle. But what I'm telling you is right now, and look, the money supply is continuing to contract. And assuming the Senate passes this bill, you're going to hear a giant sucking sound of the government selling a lot of bonds, taking in money so they can pay the bills. So I don't know. I mean, the largest companies that make up the S&P 500, the biggest companies in America, are figuring out a way to maintain their profitability, and whether it be by laying people off, stock buybacks, enhanced distribution, you name it, there are companies that are doing fairly well. Now, again, I just go back and say this: we still could have a recession. A lot of this growth is uneven, and a lot of people are being left behind, and they're feeling nervous about it. Jeffrey, the right track, wrong track here in the country. Right track, 22%, wrong track, 68. Those numbers don't lie. And you wouldn't have numbers like that if the economy was really good.
Food is still expensive.
Very expensive.
It's come down a little, but it's still expensive. Gas is inching up.
It is, but oil's floating around 70. It ain't going to inch up too much.
But for the average schmo, their life is becoming more expensive.
Yes, no question about that.
And that's where the they're not happy with how the world is going or how the country is going.
And that's agreed. And that's why that right track, wrong track, 60, what is my number? 68% wrong track. And again, Biden's approval ratio is stuck 40 to 42%. So he's obviously not the answer. But Jeffrey, again, I think it depends how you're looking at it. I mean, there is a real risk to this country that we could slide towards recession later this year or in Q1 of 2024. But all I'm saying is this: if that employment report comes out tomorrow, and I think it's going to be a pretty good report, you don't have recessions with 3.5% unemployment. Heck, Jeffrey, I was down in Florida. When you were down there too. Florida's at 2.8% unemployment. And again, I was traveling all around the state. You see growth and cranes and buildings and stuff going on everywhere.
Buildings going to get a lot bigger. I mean, 2 blocks from my hotel, there was a giant tornado that's going to have to be, people are going to have to rebuild from.
All right, we got a few minutes.
Look at it.
Yeah.
68%, 22%, that's 90. That means 10% are morons.
Yeah. Well, let's do this. Let's close it out. We got a few minutes left. Let's talk about the culture wars a little bit. Anheuser-Busch, the parent of Bud Light, has lost $27 billion in market capitalization. Target, over the last 10 days, that stock's been down 10 straight days. It's almost like it's in bear market territory. Down 10 straight days, approximately 20% of its value gone. Jeffrey, when corporations wade into the culture wars, it appears to me conservatives learned their lesson from the liberal progressive cancel culture, and they're saying, hey, wait a minute, two can play at this game, and that's what I see happening right now.
As a former marketing director, I think each company should fire their marketing director because this is horrible. So they're reaching out to 2% to the public and getting angry another 20% to the public.
I would adjust those numbers further. They're going after a relatively small slice of the market, and I think they're alienating 50% of the market, Jeffrey. Much bigger.
But whoever did those statistics didn't understand that there will be some people that will be very upset.
Sure.
I think that looking at these numbers, I believe them, but if people like the product, they're hurting themselves by not buying it.
Well, I take a different approach to that. You can drink any kind of beer you want, and if traditional Bud Light drinkers see an image like they saw, if I was one and I didn't like that image, I'll find another beer to drink. Same thing with the clothes. Look, no one is against, people buying things. I couldn't care less whether you're straight, gay, trans, bi, whatever. It matters not to me. But when these marketers try to stick it up your throat and stick it in your face and try to convince you that everyone's like that, when that is a very, very small minority in this country, people don't tolerate that. And the right, Jeffrey, as I see it, is fighting back. They're saying, I've had enough of this crap. I'm not going to listen to this anymore. And we can cancel them just like they tried to cancel us.
Interestingly, when Coke was doing New Coke, the people who were working in it were 2 desks away from me because my agency did it.
Mm-hmm.
And they were going, what the heck is going on? This is so dumb.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
The marketing people at these companies ought to be replaced.
but the thing is that what hurt them most, and I hate to blame Biden for everything, but the far liberal policies that were going through, that infuriated the conservatives.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no
And
question. I've traveled around the country. I listen to people talk in about 9 states, and people are ticked off about this stuff. Yeah.
even in Florida, which is the people I know are all liberal. And they were saying, well, I'm not happy about Biden.
Yeah, his approval rating among Democrats is not so great. Hey, we got about a minute left. I want to close it out on this, okay? The Biden administration has done a horrific job at the border. But Jeffrey, look what's happening now. Conservative states, previously Virginia, which is a purple state, West Virginia had announced support for Texas. Sarah Huckabee Sanders comes out and says Arkansas is going to send National Guard troops. South Carolina is assisting. The state of Florida, Mississippi, Iowa, Tennessee, and Nebraska are all sending assistance to Texas to help secure that border and fight this overwhelming cascade of illegals coming across the border. And then what does this just the weak, ineffective Biden administration do? They go, well, it's Congress' fault for not passing meaningful immigration reform. That is the dumbest damn thing I've ever heard. I mean, to sit here when their policies are an abject failure and to try to blame Congress? I mean, to me, what they're doing is really simple. They're saying, okay, Congress, you're not going to pass a law. We're going to flood the zone.
But that's what they wanted. And
Right.
If anybody has any doubt, look at the media pictures, okay? Because they're pictures of stacks and stacks of the wall that are rusting.
Yeah, it's just
because nothing's being done with them.
It is so disgusting between the mainstream.
All you need is somebody to put them up.
I know, but between the mainstream media and the Biden administration, it's like 2 peas in a pod. I'm happy that these red states, albeit Virginia's a purple state, with a Republican governor, stepped up and they're helping Texas out. So, Jeffrey, I
got to tell you something. Another culture thing. I might be going to jail.
Okay.
Okay, because
Well,
Jane Fonda said that
oh yeah,
global warming is done by white men.
yeah.
Okay, and as a white man, I'm afraid she's going to send me to jail.
I got to just laugh at some of this stupid stuff. I mean, these liberals,
Right.
when you beat them, they just say the dumbest damn things. All right, I got to leave it on that, Jeffrey. We're out of time. Thanks for joining me today. Folks, we hit all the hot buttons. The debt issue, the debt ceiling, inflation, the border. I mean, the hypocrisy of the Biden administration, the FBI, you name it. We're on top of it. We'll cut through the propaganda. Hey, great being back in studio. Thanks for viewing. Thanks for listening. And I'll see you next week. Have a great weekend.
Great to be back on the show.